Manchester United taking on Benfica. Champions League football is back for Manchester United. It's been a while with the international break, but really good to get back to some Champions League football. Put our minds away from that really poor performance against Liverpool and to play a team that's not performed very well so far in the Champions League. A team who most people thought would probably be the second favourite to qualify from this group. They've started off so far with, was it a 2-1 defeat? I think it was, to CSKA Moscow at home, and then a 5-0 defeat to Basel in the second game away from home. So they've started off really poor in this group, and Manchester United have started off very well, winning the Basel one at home comfortably, and then winning that CSKA Moscow tricky tie away from home comfortable. So we've got to be going into this in confident mood. Now, I don't know too much about the Benfica side anymore, but they're still fairly well up the Portuguese league, so we can't take this too lightly. Can't really go on that 5-0 thrashing they had last time around, because to be honest, that could have been a complete one-off, and I presume that they played really poorly in that game. I haven't seen the highlights from that game, but I would presume that they performed very bad to get hammered like that. Now, obviously they're sitting bottom of the group, but they still could qualify for second position or get a Europa League spot, so they're still going to be up for qualifying from this group. Now, Manchester United could really put the group to bed if we win this game, and certainly if we beat them at Old Trafford in the reverse fixture coming up in a few weeks' time. So hopefully Manchester United are going in with this in confident mood. We have been scoring lots of goals. Besides that game against Liverpool, we've scored in all the other games, so we should be going in confident that we can get the job done in this game, get the 3 points. It is tricky because it's away from home in Portugal. Last time we played there, we drew 1-1. I think it was a Ryan Giggs goal. So on paper, that is, as I say, it's not the easiest of ties, but a 1-1 draw would actually be seen as a decent result for this game. But I just want to get this group done and dusted, because Manchester United have started picking up some injuries to some key players, and we do not want any more injuries. And after this game, if we could beat them in the corresponding fixture at Old Trafford, that would probably mean the group is won. And the last two games, Manchester United can change the players a bit in the group, in the fixture. So going into this game, I would expect a fairly strong lineup from Manchester United, with maybe 1 or 2 changes to the team. David Gea obviously in goal. Lindelof could come back into the team, which I believe he will. Be playing against his old club, so he'll be very well up for this game. I would expect Smalling to keep his position in the centre of defence. Probably give Phil Jones a rest. Is talks of him getting a new contract, which is good to see that he's playing well and getting consistent run of games now for Manchester United, because we all knew he had a lot of talent in him, but it was just getting that consistent run of games and not being injured quite so much for Manchester United. But hopefully his injury problems are out the way and he can continue, but a rest would do him good for this game, because we have got a League Cup game coming up next week against Swansea, and you know Jose Mourinho is not going to shuffle the pack hugely for that game either, so you've got to shuffle 2 or 3 for this game, and probably 2 or 3 players at least for that game as well. Now I would expect Ashley Young and probably Blin to play as the fullbacks. Now the midfield is going to have to be Matic and Herrera again, because we haven't got a lot of other options at the moment, with Fellaini, Pogba injured, Carrick injured as well, so hopefully 1 or 2 of them could return for that game. It would be nice to see Carrick return for that game against Swansea City in the League Cup, just to give some of these players, maybe Matic, a rest from the starting lineup, because we don't want to overplay these players week in, week out, when we've got games where we could potentially rest them due to injuries already. Now, Juan Mata I would expect to come back in on one side, Marcus Rashford on the other, Mkhitaryan in that number 10 role, and Romelu Lukaku up front. That's what I would expect anyway. He doesn't usually play Martial or Rashford in 2 consecutive games. He seems to be swapping them over, and the other one coming off the bench, so I would expect Rashford to come back in. Now, I would expect Manchester United to hopefully get the job done in this game. I'm not overly confident, because a draw wouldn't be a terrible result. It's a better result to draw a game in the group stage of this than to draw in the Premier League, obviously, because in this group, it doesn't matter if you draw a game, you can still win the group. If you have 1 or 2 draws, or the worst case scenario, finish in second, which we do not want to do. We want to obviously win the group, but that is the worst case scenario. You still qualify anyway. But obviously in the Premier League, if we drop 2 points like we did against Liverpool, then you do lose ground on the other teams. So it's not too bad if we have a draw, because it is away from home. But I would, as I said before so many times, just want to get this win done, win the Benfica one, then the group is over, and the last 2 games we can rest the players, play the likes of Michael Carrick, Scott McTominay, maybe Demi Mitchell can get a run out as well. It would be nice to see some other players, 2-1 Zebby get a run out, Now there is talk of Marcus Rojo and Luke Shaw travelling with the party to Benfica. Now Luke Shaw's been getting a lot of criticism from Manchester United fans for his performance in the under-23s against West Ham, where we lost 4-2. Haven't seen the game, so I can't really comment on that. People saying he looked lazy, looked overweight, which is worrying for me as being a Manchester United fan, that he's not up for that game, because he's got to really prove himself in that level so that he can get back into the Manchester United team, because there's no guarantee he will start against Swansea City next week midweek, because he didn't start the game in the previous round against Burton Albion. So that is worrying for me for there, but I haven't seen Marcus Rojo play any football this season, so it would be a bit of a worry if he was brought back into the squad. I can't see him playing at all. I think he needs some reserve team games first. If he hasn't played, I don't think he's played any so far, but I'm not too sure. I presume Tuanzebe probably has travelled as well, and Scott McTominay probably, because Tuanzebe was on the bench for that game against Liverpool, so hopefully it is only a matter of time. He was injured when we played that League Cup game against Burton Albion, but hopefully he can come back into the fold for that sort of game. And then for the last maybe couple of group games of the Champions League, Tuanzebe and obviously Scott McTominay and players like that can get a run out. There's a few youth players for Manchester United, which would be nice to see in the Champions League. So I'm expecting Manchester United to win this game, but not expecting to see Marcus Rojo, Tuanzebe or Luke Shaw or Scott McTominay actually feature in the game. They could, though. I would expect maybe Scott McTominay could potentially be on the bench with the lack of options we've got in midfield at the moment due to 3 of our midfield players being out injured. Anyway, make sure to like the video. I'm going to go for a Manchester United win. I'm going to be bold and go for a Manchester United 2-0 victory. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and there will be a watch along this week, so stay tuned for that. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you're new, and I'll talk to you all again soon.